Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
The Pete Alonzo era with the New York Mets is over. He signed a 5-year, $155 million deal with the Baltimore Orioles. That's the highest AAV ever for a first baseman at $31 million per year. No deferrals, no opt-outs. Alonzo is going to Baltimore, heading to the AL East, and his time with the Mets has come to an end. I know this is hard for a lot of Mets fans to process right now. You're probably in a state of mourning. A beloved Met, the franchise's all-time home run king with 264 homers, a 5-time All-Star who was the NL Rookie of the Year with 53 bombs, 7 seasons in Queens, the home run in Milwaukee that saved the 2024 season, the Polar Bear, LFGM, the Pumpkin, all those memories of watching Pete launch homers at Citi Field and on the road. I get it. Losing 2 fan favorites in 2 days is not easy to swallow. But let me be real with you. Good for Pete Alonzo. He's been looking for this kind of massive deal since he turned down that 7-year offer from the Mets. He could have been a Met for life if he wanted to come back. The Mets offered him 7 years and over $150 million back then. Now he gets 5 for $155. He made out better by holding out. When Scott Barras is your agent, that's the goal. It's not about hometown discounts or being a Met for life. It's about getting the biggest bag. Apparently, the Mets never made a formal offer once they knew it would take 5 years. There was no interest. I'm a little surprised it's the Orioles and not the Red Sox. I really thought it would be Boston, but it's Baltimore. Let me address the elephant in the room. Losing Nimmo, losing Diaz, losing Alonzo. I know most of the fan base is devastated today. You're saying you won't show up again? You quit the team? Fire David Stearns? You hate Steve Cohen? You're canceling tickets? You're done being a Mets fan? Let me speak to that group as someone who's not down right now. I don't want to say I told you so because today's not the day for that. But I did think they were moving on. The wise decision was to move on. Pete Alonzo is getting the highest AAV for a first baseman ever. He's slow. He's 31. He's a defensive liability, and he's going to regress. He just is. In 2, 3, 4, 5 years, he's not going to be a 45 home run hitter. If he is, come back and tell me I'm an idiot. But he was never going to maintain that. He's a one-dimensional player, a power hitter who strikes out a lot. His on-base isn't great. He doesn't play great defense. Sure, he scoops throws well, but his range isn't there. He's awful at throwing to other bases. That's not his strength. The Mets were never comfortable going there with that contract. From a business standpoint, this is wise. I know emotionally you're going to say he's our guy, but sometimes you have to put emotions aside. You have the richest owner in sports, but why give all that money just because fans like him? That's not how you build a winner. He was never Stearns' kind of guy. Cohen could have stepped in and said, no, let's do it. He didn't. Here's something else I need to say now that he's gone. Pete Alonzo is not a leader in that clubhouse. I've spoken to people around the organization who've told me things behind the scenes that factored into why I didn't want him here long term. I was told a couple years ago about the ego, about how other players never really looked up to him as a leader. He was a me-first guy. That showed with the home run derby stuff. Down goes Strawberry. It was always Pete, Pete, Pete. I think he said the right things to the media, but deep down in that clubhouse, he wasn't the guy. He was buddies with Vogelbacher, McNeil, and Nimmo. But if the Mets are moving on from the core, go all the way. They moved on from Nimmo. They moved on from Diaz, now Alonzo. Next up is Jeff McNeil. That's the core. The Mets want to build something new. This was inevitable. They were always going to make massive changes. Before you call it sleazy Stearns, fire Stearns, Cohen sucks, understand this. Those guys talk to other players in that clubhouse. They know who's liked, who's not, what the drama is behind the scenes. With the Mets building a family atmosphere, this plays a part. That family dynamic wasn't beloved by everyone. He was never going to be captain. He was never going to be that guy. He was a goofy guy and a great hitter, but a defensive liability and not the kind of guy you want to build around in the clubhouse. You'd rather build around Marcus Semien short term. You have Lindor and Soto going nowhere. The Mets didn't see Alonso as a core piece moving forward, especially a guy who was going to age poorly into his mid-30s. When they said run, prevention, and defense, that wasn't Alonso's forte. Don't half-ass moving on from the core. Go all in. It hurts today. I'm completely empathetic to probably 95% of the fan base who are crying and emotional and sad. The Alonzo home run in Milwaukee was one of the great moments of my life. You think I didn't enjoy those home runs? I interviewed him back in 2020. I met him at the Jeff McNeil charity poker event. He complimented my silver chain, and I told him I got it at TJ Maxx, and he laughed. You think I don't feel something? I know people are going to bash me, but I'm standing my ground. This isn't a hot take. This is what I felt for 2 years. If you followed me, you know. If you hate me or disagree, that's fine because I'm one of you. I'm a Mets fan. If you quit the team now, don't let the door hit you on the way out. I'm still a Mets fan through this. I know it's dark right now, but we've been through worse back-to-back collapses, teams that lost consistently year after year. Right now it looks bleak. But it's December 10th. The offseason is far from over. People are assuming the Mets are just putting Mark Vientos at first base. There are players out there. The Mets are not starting Vientos or Ryan Clifford at first. They're getting a first baseman. No, they're not getting 45 homers and 120 RBIs. They're not. But hitting behind Juan Soto, you're going to get RBIs. You're going to get production. Hitting behind Lindor and Soto, you'll get that from someone. You won't get as many, but look at what the Blue Jays did from 1 through 9 with that deep order. The Mets don't need a top-heavy lineup with 3 or 4 40-homer guys. It's not all about the long ball. It's about defense, on-base percentage, station-to-station hitting, situational hitting. Alonzo failed at that at times. 2024 was the best season in Pete Alonzo's Mets career, and it was the worst season of his life statistically. At his worst, the Mets performed at their best. Without him, they'll be fine. I know it's hard to say that now. Call me names if you want, but I've stood my ground. I think the Mets are in a better place moving on from Pete Alonzo. He wasn't well regarded in that clubhouse. I know things behind the scenes. There was animosity and ego thing at play. The Mets deep down wanted to move on, and it wasn't just about home runs and the polar bear. They didn't want to bring him back just because fans begged them to. They didn't like the other layers of having Pete off the field. I don't think he's a bad guy or a terrible teammate, but I think the Mets can get someone who fits better in this clubhouse. I'm sorry if you hate me right now. I feel for you. I'm one of you. I watch every game. I go to 50-plus games a year. I know people who work at that stadium, in the organization. I know things behind the scenes. One day you'll see that for the future of this franchise, this was the right move. Today's not the day to say that, but one day you will. Thank you for the memories, Pete Alonzo. What a fun ride. So many cool moments. But in the end, the Mets didn't win one pennant. They made 2 playoffs in 7 years, got past the wild card round once in 7 years. There was a lot of losing, a lot of cool homers, polar bear, LFGM, but a whole lot of losing. I want to win. That's what it's about. Thank you, Pete Alonzo. Where do they go from here? You're not getting as many homers and RBIs. Stop asking how you replace that. You're not. Your hope is to fill multiple positions. You need to upgrade center field. Get a good first baseman who gets 80 to 90. Get one in center who gets you 80. You just replace the production. You had nothing offensively in center last year. Better production at center and maybe a bit less at first. Better production at second. You're okay. Cody Bellinger's the first name, but he'll require a long-term deal, something David Stearns might not want to give. Could he accept a 3-year high AAV deal? Maybe. But we have to see what the Yankees offer. I feel like Bellinger becomes a Yankee or a Met. Another name I've mentioned a lot is Yandy Diaz. I think the Mets will be interested in trading for him with the Rays because he's making $12 million next year with a vesting option for 13 the year after. 2 years, $25 million total for Yandy Diaz is a bargain. Yes, it's a drop-off from Alonzo. He's not great defensively, probably just a bit better than Alonzo. But Yandy will give you 25 and 80. He'll hit 300. He won the batting title in 2023. Hit 300 with a 366 OBP, drove in 83 with 25 homers. He's consistently played 137-plus games the last 4 years, 150 last year. He'll drive in 80 runs. He never hit behind Juan Soto. Put Yandy Diaz, the batting champ, behind Lindor and Soto. You'll get a big year. He's also a right-handed bat. You lost Alonzo's right-handed production. I don't think he'd cost a ton in a trade. I'm interested in Yandy Diaz. Kazuma Okamoto is another guy, much better defensively than Pete Alonzo. He'd have to come over from Japan, some question marks, but he plays third, first, and outfield, giving versatility. He was a home run champ with 41 in 2023 in Japan. Plays really good defense. The Mets are intrigued. He's 29, will cost far less than Alonzo. If they want the Japanese route, there's also Murakami, but he strikes out a lot against fastballs. Okamoto's the guy. The worst option, if not internal, is Paul Goldschmidt on a one-year deal. A Gold Glover, former MVP, but he'll be 39. I think signing Goldschmidt would upset fans. I don't see it happening. He'll be 38 next year. But if they get a big-time center and left fielder, maybe. They could also get Bregman or Bote and move them to first, or move Vientos to first. Less likely because they have Mauricio, Vientos, and Acuna in the organization. My best bet is Bellinger, Yandy, or Okamoto at first. Then figure out the outfield. Trade for Byron Buxton, maybe Fernando Tatis. David Stearns isn't going to put Vientos at first. Trade for Luis Robert and put Carson Benjamin in left. If he does, we'll talk about how dumb that is. But we don't know what they've done. Kyle Tucker is still out there, too. I know this is tough to stomach. Tell me how many World Series appearances the Mets made with Pete Alonzo here. I'm not blaming it all on him, but clubhouse factors in. A lot of people assume he was a leader beloved by everyone. That's not the case. That's false. I've heard it. The Mets know it internally. They'll never say it. You can think I don't know anything. I'll go with what I know. Don't always believe what's said in the media. That's PR 101. It's a sad day for sure, but the Mets will fill that hole. I believe in David Stearns. I know no one does right now. These last 2 days have been daggers, but you think we haven't been through worse? Come on. We're Mets fans. If you're quitting now, get out. I don't want to see you. Don't watch the show. If you're quitting because of these moves, good riddance. Don't let the door hit you. I'm not quitting. I'm a Mets fan till the day I die, no matter who's on this team. The emotional ties to Alonzo and Diaz make this hurt, but sometimes you have to move on from a core that was rotten, that didn't win anything, that collapsed like no other. All the money spent did nothing. You can talk about paying everyone all you want. They did that. We've been here. We won nothing doing that. Sometimes you have to change the approach. The Mets have to change it closer with Edwin Diaz gone. They've expressed heavy interest in all-star closer. Robert Suarez, that's a good pivot. He was an all-star the last 2 years, led the league with 40 saves, sub-3 ERA, really good. It's a downgrade from Diaz, but not tremendous when combined with Devin Williams in a potential bounce-back season. The aftermath of Edwin Diaz is this. He didn't want to be here. He wanted to be a Dodger. He made that clear when he never came back to the Mets after the Dodgers made their offer. The Mets made their offer. They signed Devin Williams when they figured their offer wasn't good enough. Diaz felt slighted, signed with the Dodgers, never called the Mets back. That shows he didn't want to be here. He wanted to win. I can't blame him for wanting a championship, which he'll get in Los Angeles. That's a guarantee. The Mets have to pivot. That's Suarez, Fairbanks, one of those guys, plus more bullpen help. I believe they'll get Suarez. I know it's a hard day. Pete wanted to go. He wanted the biggest contract. The Mets weren't giving it to him. I understand you're upset they didn't, but are you not going to watch the Mets now? If so, so be it. I'm still watching. It's time to turn the page on the polar bear. As mad as that makes you, as mad as you are at me for saying it, I'm keeping it real. Since last offseason, I told you the Mets should move on from Diaz. They kept him thanks to Milwaukee and nobody else wanting him on a short-term deal. They weren't getting him short-term this year. It was 3 years they wanted. He got 5. Pete's happy. He and his wife get a fresh start in Baltimore. They'll meet new people, maybe get along better with other player families than they did here. He got $31 million a year. He became the highest AAV first baseman in history. Did he deserve that? After not getting it before, good for him. He hit a lot of homers. He was a good offensive player. But the Mets didn't want to go there for a defensive liability. I commend David Stearns and Steve Cohen because the reaction they're getting is bad. People canceled season tickets. They're pissed. They won't show up. But in the end, you'll show up to see a winner. If the Mets are winners, you will show up. The goal is to make this team a winner because last year, this team was a bunch of losers. They fell flat. I want a winner. I don't care about a polar bear in LFGM. I want Let's Go Mets for a team that wins and competes for a championship. This team did that once in Alonzo's tenure, and it was the worst year of his life statistically in 2024. All his worst numbers across the board. The Mets found a way, and they'll find a way again.